The Battle of Verdun, fought during World War I, remains one of the longest and bloodiest engagements in military history. The battle began on February 21st, 1916, and lasted until December 18th of the same year, stretching over nearly 300 days. Verdun, a city located in northeastern France, held significant strategic and symbolic importance. It was here that the French army faced the German forces in a battle marked by brutal combat and staggering loss of life. The Germans, led by Chief of General Staff Erich von Falkenhayn, aimed to bleed France white by launching a massive attack that would force the French to defend Verdun at all costs. At the time, the city of Verdun was heavily fortified, with 20 powerful forts and 40 smaller military positions. The most prominent forts were Fort Douaumont and Fort Vaux. These fortresses were considered critical to the defense of the region, and Falkenhayn hoped that by capturing Verdun, he could inflict irreparable damage on the French army. The plan also sought to draw the French into a relentless battle of attrition, where the continuous loss of soldiers would weaken France's ability to continue the war. The initial German offensive. The German offensive began on February 21st, 1916, with a massive artillery bombardment that lasted 9 hours and involved over 1,000 heavy guns. This barrage was designed to devastate French defensive positions and clear the way for German infantry to advance. The intensity of the shelling was unprecedented, and it signaled the beginning of what would become one of the most harrowing battles in modern warfare. The German forces advanced rapidly in the early days of the battle, capturing Fort Douaumont on February 25th, a significant blow to the French defenses. French Commander-in-Chief Joseph Joffre initially underestimated the German attack, but the fall of Fort Douaumont forced him to take immediate action. Joffre appointed General Philippe Pétain to lead the defense of Verdun. Pétain quickly organized a system of rotating troops to ensure that fresh soldiers were continually sent to the front lines. This system, known as the Noria, helped maintain French morale and allowed the army to endure the relentless German assault. Pétain also ordered improvements to the logistics supply line, known as the Voie Sacrée, the Sacred Way, which became vital for transporting supplies and reinforcements to the battlefield. The French counterattack. By April, the French had regrouped and launched a counterattack to retake key positions, including Fort Vaux, which had been captured by the Germans in early June. The defense of Fort Vaux became one of the most iconic episodes of the battle. French Major Sylvain Eugène Raynal and his garrison held out against overwhelming odds, enduring weeks of relentless bombardment and close-quarters combat. Despite their heroic efforts, the fort eventually fell to the Germans on June 7th. Throughout the summer of 1916, the battle continued with ferocious intensity. The French launched several counteroffensives, but the Germans remained determined to break through the French lines. Both sides suffered heavy casualties, with soldiers enduring appalling conditions in the trenches. The battlefield was a hellscape of mud, blood, and death, with artillery fire and machine gun fire causing unimaginable carnage. In July, the French forces began to stabilize the front lines, and the tide of the battle began to turn in their favor. The German exhaustion. By late summer, the German army was beginning to suffer from exhaustion. Falkenhayn's strategy of attrition had backfired, as the French proved more resilient than expected. Furthermore, the British and French had launched a massive offensive at the Battle of the Somme in July 1916, diverting German resources and attention away from Verdun. The combination of the Somme offensive and the French counterattacks at Verdun put the Germans on the defensive. On October 24, 1916, the French launched a major counteroffensive that recaptured Fort Douaumont, marking a turning point in the battle. In November, they also retook Fort Vaux. By December, the Germans had been pushed back to their original positions, and the battle finally came to an end on December 18, 1916. The French had successfully defended Verdun, but at an enormous cost. The human cost. The Battle of Verdun resulted in staggering casualties for both sides. Estimates vary, but it is believed that between 300,000 and 400,000 soldiers were killed, with total casualties, including wounded and missing, reaching around 700,000. The French army suffered approximately 162,000 dead, while the Germans lost around 143,000 soldiers. The sheer scale of the human suffering was unprecedented, and the battle left a lasting scar on both nations. The psychological impact of Verdun was immense, particularly for the French. The battle became a symbol of French determination and resistance, with the phrase, "Ils ne passeront pas," they shall not pass, becoming a rallying cry for the French people. General Philippe Pétain, who had played a crucial role in organizing the defense of Verdun, was hailed as a national hero. His leadership during the battle earned him the nickname, the Lion of Verdun. For the Germans, the battle was a failure. Falkenhayn's strategy had not succeeded in breaking the French army, and the enormous losses suffered by the Germans weakened their overall war effort. In August 1916, Falkenhayn was replaced as chief of the general staff by Paul von Hindenburg and Erich Ludendorff, who shifted German strategy toward more decisive offensives on the Eastern Front and later, in 1918, the Western Front. The legacy of the Battle of Verdun. The Battle of Verdun remains one of the most significant and devastating battles of World War I. It exemplified the horrors of trench warfare, with both sides suffering immense casualties for little territorial gain. Verdun became a symbol of national pride for the French and a bitter memory for the Germans. The battle also highlighted the futility of the war of attrition, where neither side could achieve a decisive victory, and the human cost far outweighed any strategic gains. In the years following the war, Verdun became a site of remembrance and commemoration. The ossuary of Douaumont was constructed to house the remains of approximately 130,000 unidentified soldiers from both sides who perished during the battle. Each year, ceremonies are held at Verdun to honor the memory of those who fought and died in the battle. The lessons of Verdun also influenced military strategy in future conflicts. The battle demonstrated the importance of logistics, artillery, and maintaining high troop morale in prolonged engagements. It also underscored the need for more effective coordination between infantry, artillery, and air support, lessons that would be applied in later battles during the war and in future conflicts such as World War II. The Battle of Verdun was one of the defining moments of World War I, symbolizing the grim reality of modern industrialized warfare. The battle, which lasted nearly 300 days, resulted in hundreds of thousands of casualties and left a lasting legacy of suffering and sacrifice. Although the French ultimately defended Verdun, the human cost was immense, and the battle underscored the devastating consequences of a war of attrition. Verdun remains a poignant reminder of the horrors of war and the resilience of those who fought to defend their homeland.